Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends is brought to you by Funny&Amen. If you want to support this podcast and haven't seen any of our other content, head over to our page at patreon.com/funny-and-amen. For just $2 a month, you can watch our podcast a whole week early and see exclusive stand-up comedy that can't be seen anywhere else. For only $5 a month, you'll have access to the podcasts, the stand-up, and behind-the-scenes content, exclusive first looks at new comedy projects we're working on, and bonus, we're going to send you a t-shirt. Head to patreon.com/funny-and-amen to see all we have to offer. That's patreon.com/funny-and-amen. Hi, my name is Kevin Hackenberg, and I'm very excited that you're with us today on the Christians That Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friend podcast here on Funny&Amen. And as always, you can abbreviate that F&Amen. And my good friend Rich Gretzinger is here.
Hello, Kevin.
And Rich and I met years ago in the woods of New Jersey, in the Pine Barrens, late one night on a movie called Mutant Man.
No, it was before that.
Do we meet on Surrender Dorothy? Were you on Surrender Dorothy?
Kevin called me to shoot Surrender Dorothy, and I was working on Lies the Radio Told Me that I think you day played on?
Nope.
No?
Nope. I remember you and Seth Shaw showing up to operate B camera. I'm
That's
like,
right.
I was so jealous. These guys are operating a 35mm film camera. Derek's never even seen one of those.
Skirts. You worked on Skirts.
But that was after.
That was after?
That was
Mutant
after.
Man?
Because
Wow.
Mutant Man was my second movie.
Wow, maybe.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is like the baby
Seth was
of my
in his
career.
motorcycle accident, and he couldn't work on Skirts.
Oh,
He was like a coordinator.
right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Wow.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the
now
day.
You're putting the pieces together, man.
These are like the first few films that I ever worked on. So I know the order of them.
It was Don Argot that worked on Lies the Radio Told Me. That's what.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah.
Well, we're both kind of wiry.
He was
wiry guys.
I was his mentor. No.
Our friend. If you don't know Don Argot, check out some of his amazing movies. So we're here today. We're going to pour ourselves a little bit of Knob Creek. We've watered it down just a little bit because it's late and we are two old guys. And but we're going to have a little.
Mom,
I
I don't do this stuff regularly, so.
Mom, sorry, I kind of do. So, but I'm going in the wrong order. I'm pouring myself first here. Bad host. I'll give you a little bit. Perfect. There you go. Perfect.
Thank you.
Woo! This is Knob Creek we're drinking here. This is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and I'm already getting high just off the effervescence coming off it. So, cheers,
Cool.
man.
Angel's Cut. Good stuff.
That's good. So, it was really exciting connecting recently.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank
you for coming out.
Yeah, man. So I had in my calendar to show up at the opening of your vulnerability project. So, and I didn't make it out. But then you posted again. You're gonna close it down and have another talk back. And I was like, I want to check it out, man. So Rich and I worked together in the film industry as cinematographers. I started out working for you as a lighting person, and then I saw on Instagram you were doing this vulnerability project. Didn't know much about it, but I wanted to come out and support you and just reconnect. We've had all kinds of great stuff. We went to Ireland together on a project.
That's right. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes.
Culture Trek. Yes.
Culture Trek. I was just there a couple months ago for a conference, and everyone was like, "Have you been here before?" And I was thinking about you and Leslie, and
that's right.
and
Wesley.
Bunch of kids hanging out. Bringing some inner city kids over there is fun.
Right.
And so let's talk about let's talk what we're up to. Talk about the vulnerability project. I think it's really exciting. As we were going, I wasn't even thinking about the podcast that night. I was there to kind of support you. And as we got talking, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, this is kind of where where I want to go with these conversations here on
Right.
my podcast. You know,
I think we're all there. I mean, this is 2 years in the making, and I think it really stems out of sort of a little bit of the political situation we're in right now, and the fact that we're so disconnected from each other. We have these devices that literally can connect us to everyone and everything in the world, yet we're more disconnected to each other
they've come between us.
Right. Then whatever. How many times are you sitting at dinner and someone's doing this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do I feel so disconnected? Why do I feel so lost with what I do? And that's my problem. I do everything. So I do movies, commercials, music videos. I do sports. You know, I'm one of the guys on the sidelines at an Eagles game.
Yeah.
And then I do my photography, and I travel with that. I work for this nonprofit that sent me out working with kids all over the world. And Ireland, that project sort of was the incubus to that work. And I didn't know what I do. So 2 years ago, Third Street Gallery in Old City, has a group show with the Lightroom, which is a photography co-op that I'm a part of. So they asked me to show some of this work that I did in Ecuador. Similar to Ireland, we took a bunch of kids into Ecuador and had them do this sort of artist exchange. We painted a mural. And part of that is me documenting the exchange. So I have these beautiful pictures of these Andean school children in the mountains of Ecuador, and they're cut off from society. And they wanted me to show this work. And I'm like, well, everyone loves this work. I did it in 2007. That was like 7 years ago. I want to do something new. So I was going through some personal stuff, and I was feeling really disconnected, and I really didn't have focus to what I was doing with my career. What have I done with my life, my career? 25 plus years in this business. And so I'm sitting in my therapist's office, and she's looking at my portfolio because she said, "Bring in what's most meaningful to you." And I'm like, I'm lost with my work. And she's paging through the work, and she arrives at this image of this Andean girl, and with almost like a tear in her eye, she looks up to me and she goes, "Your work speaks of vulnerability." And that kind of like, all right, what does that mean? And she goes, "Do you know Brene Brown and her work with vulnerability?" I'm like, "No, I don't." So she sent me a podcast. Go check this podcast out. And I watched the podcast, then I downloaded her book, Braving the Wilderness, and it was exactly where I was. And I'm like, something's here. And that night, I typed up this outline, Vulnerability Project. I want people to be real. I want people to sort of break through the facades that we go through day to day, the hustles that we try to do, the way we paint ourselves to be more affable, be more confident in our work, things like that. I just want to reconnect with real people. So I typed up this proposal, and I threw it out on Facebook, and I'm like, this ain't gonna be good. And
I love the fact that like we have this way to connect with people, but when you start to be real, people are going to react.
Right.
People are going to react. I mean, I'm a Christian. I drink whiskey, and people are going to react. Like they're going to be polarized, or they're going to be all for it, and you're vulnerable. Right. That's a vulnerable thing to do.
And that was the thing. And if I had to do something vulnerable or something scary, and this is what this project has taught me, is that the more you step into the things that are scary, the more you deal with the demons of your past, whatever you want to call that, the more you just accept that, the more you find that connection with not only yourself but with other people. Maya Angelou kind of like rolls with me a little bit, and she has this amazing quote. And she talks about you only belong when you're. I gotta find the real quote. Yeah,
that's what we're here for.
I wish I had these things totally memorized, but it's like you belong. You're only free when you belong. Every place, no place at all. The reward is high, but the struggle is great. So what she's saying is our freedom from all these things that sort of like facade us or silo us is stepping into acceptance of ourselves and acceptance of knowing that there's something greater than all of us, whether it's your belief in a spiritual God or just a belief that we're all part of something that's bigger than what we are solely. So Brene talks a lot about this and stepping into these things. And her biggest quote that kind of like sat with me for a little bit is, "It's hard to hate people close up."
Oh, that's so good.
And
you said that the other night we were hanging out, and I was just like, man, it's so good.
And that's the problem. That's the problem with where we are in a society today. Is that there's no community, because our communities are siloed because of social media, because of the way the internet and the news is. We silo ourselves.
Let's just back it up a second, because it's not just that. We can blame social media today. 2019, we can blame it because we have it,
right?
And we're all addicted to it. And like, why am I not getting any sleep? Oh, the blue light in my face. It's not the blue light's fault. Right. There's something in us that's like craving to see somebody else or be more.
Well, maybe. Right. Well, that's just it. I believe, and there's a level of anthropological science that goes behind this. We're wired for struggle, because when we were cavemen, we needed other cavemen to survive. So our bodies developed these mechanisms, loneliness, anxiety, depression, to sort of make us go out and find and seek other people so we can survive. But what's happened as we evolved is we created symbolism. We have a language.
Yeah.
The rest of the animal world has the fight or flight instinct, but is there anxiety, depression, loneliness, suicide in animals? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But because we have this brain process that can analyze and look at things and turn them around, so we're feeling this weird feeling, almost like hunger or being tired, but it's like, I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm depressed. I'm lonely. But we try to like reason ourselves out of that. You ever see a sunset that makes you cry, or you ever hear a song that makes you happy or sad? It's because we have these symbols in our lives that sort of like stick with us. And lock in those sort of feelings that we have.
I think it's like, it's like a purpose. Like, what's all right, at survival, especially Western culture, we're doing pretty good for ourselves. We're sitting in a basement, albeit Kensington, and we're drinking whiskey. Like, we've got it pretty good. I was reading an article about these kids coming over from Mexico and getting detained. I'm like, whatever you believe politically, there are kids traveling alone, seeking out something better for themselves, right? And so we're sitting here, and we have the luxury,
luxury,
of arguing about their existence, and what to do with them, or what to do with other people and other cultures that are and their problems. We have this like very amazing luxury, and so now we don't have to survive. We're not struggling with survival, so we get to identify. We get to think about what's my purpose?
Right.
How can I? Is it to help them? Yes, and what is it personally to do? For me, how do I achieve what I was meant to be? Whether I believe we were kind of made with each individual has a purpose, has what we bring to the table,
right?
To communicate to each other, to kind of build that family. But at the same time, like, what do you do with it? Are we just hitting like, or
right?
Yeah,
because the internet, and again, social media, and it's a product of that, because a lot of the same responses you get when you see a like, the same serotonin response as if when you see somebody that you really like. The same thing happens.
Yeah.
So we're taking this kind of contact and giving it to this, giving more strength to this. So we're sucked into this, but this is not real. It's not representational of what discourse is. There was a book done, I'm not sure if it was recently, but Brene Brown talks about it. It was called The Sort. And it was an author who looked at polling districts in red states in the South from the Carter administration, I believe. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody out there, because I'm loosely...
They will.
I'm loosely citing this, but the facts are sort of in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But to the Trump administration.
Yeah.
And what he found was, back in the Carter-Reagan era, it was an 80% diverse electorate. electorate. So your neighbor, who you went to church with, who you spent the holidays with, who your kids play together, didn't have the same beliefs as you, but you were still friends. You still had a community. You had the church, or you had the rec center, or you had a sporting event. Now it's completely different. It's almost reversed. I think it's 20% diverse now. So your neighbors think like you. Everybody on your Facebook thinks like you. And if Facebook knows that, it will direct more people that think like you and more programming that think like you. So now
more programming, more ads.
Right.
More,
so now you have nobody that you can talk to that doesn't believe like you do. So there's no discourse. There's no room. So automatically we're siloed, and all we can do is scream with rage at the other side. You are the reason for my lot in life. Yeah. You Democrat or you Republican are so blind to everything.
I don't think it, but I mean, just to play devil's advocate, I don't know that. We blame this a lot, but you take New York City back at when it was being formed, and you had Irish and you had Italians, and you had these like little culture wars happening. You had the other.
Right.
The other's always been
right, but remember
around.
That was a big resource exchange. There was not a lot of resources or space or so the communities held together, and that was because. Of course, these are the most vulnerable times of your life. You're coming off of a boat, not even knowing where you're going to go. So, of course,
you're trying to make
you identify with the people who are from your homeland, and you put your trust in them. And then, unfortunately, sometimes that trust is a little misguided. Maybe, yeah.
But I think there's something to be said for it's all these great stories of people being vulnerable and being the first person to cross the battlefield, with a maybe not a white flag to surrender, but like to say like, hey, we're sitting in these ditches, getting muddy and cold and miserable, and like we stick our head up, we're gonna get shot. Like it's no fun living in a ditch.
No, exactly.
And the guy who's walking out there on the battlefield, whether he's wearing whatever he's carrying to whatever peace symbol or. I want to be an ambassador. I want to just, like that's the most vulnerable place.
Right,
you're getting shot at. So I really tell these people at home a little bit more. I came to the show, talking about a few people that were in it and what we discovered in it. Because I was really moved by.
So basically, it's my attempt at being vulnerable with what I do. I never really considered myself an artist. I always consider myself an app technician, someone who can craft light and shadow and focus and non-focus and lenses. And
I was telling you a story the other night about me getting all these 12 weeks of artists coming to speak, and then I get caught in as the commercial artist.
right, exactly. What is that?
The guy who sold out before he started,
But it's something I knew I had to do, and I wanted to do this, and I didn't tell the gallery until a month out, or the colleagues what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I sprung it to them on the curation meeting when all the photographers are sitting around in a circle. So, what are you going to show? So we can get a cohesiveness to the actual show. So I told them this is what I want to do, and this is what I have been doing for like the past 6 months. And it's something that I found.
So you'd already started working on it.
Right. So I started probably in March, and August was the show. So cool. This is like June-ish. We're having this meeting, and I said it can go either way. But I said to myself that this is something I'm going to do, and if it fails, if I set out what I set out to do fails and it didn't work, and I'm laughed at, and I get criticized for trying to show my true self. I've battled depression my entire life, and I've kept that a secret because, and you know how it works. You have to be, as a director of photography, as a cinematography on a mid-sized budgeted kind of project. You're the one they look to for answers. A producer is not going to want to know about I was crying this morning because I felt inadequate about something, No. So I bottled up all that emotion, and it just, at one point, I just had to let it out. And this was my way of stepping into something scary, something that I knew I had to do regardless of what the outcome was. Yeah. And what a transformative experience it has been for me, and I think for some of the people that I've photographed. And it's really not I'm photographing them. I'm creating space, and this is something my therapist sort of like taught me, but I didn't realize until just very recently, is that the space that a therapist creates for you is this non-judgmental thing. So it allows you to be courageous and vulnerable and let you spew everything. So I took what she taught me and I create space and we have a conversation, whether it's about stepping into joy, about laughing hysterically, not wanting that to not to end, or dealing with some struggles like losses of family and friends, suicide, which was a couple conversations recently that deeply affected me. But it's allowing these people to have this space to sort of just kind of like let it out. And me being ultra intuitive person, I kind of just wait for the moment to happen, and I just snap. I don't do this. It's not posed. I don't have lights. It's all natural lighting. I just wait for that moment, and I snap a couple pictures, and then
there's words. There's a lot of words around. Tell us about the words.
So I halfway into the project, I had a second show at Francis House of Peace with the wonderful people at Project Home. My good friend Rachel Aragood, who's the art curator over at Project Home, had me sit in on one of her sessions with teaching artists. They're using art as a therapy to get through to some of these formerly homeless people to deal with some of their trauma, using art as this therapeutic way of dealing with trauma. So I was able to sit down with these people. So I started recording their voices, because the show was not only the image and a little quote that's distilled from that conversation with the image, but the audio track is playing in the background. So it was like this immersive experience, and I stuck with that. So then I all the images are time stamped because the camera naturally just records that metadata. So I'm able to sort of like, here's the quote. It was like 10 minutes into our conversation, so at 10 minutes into the photos at the same time, I look for that one photo that kind of speaks to me.
That's cool.
And then I pull it out, and then I distill the quote, and it's a conversation that I have with each person.
So before we forget about it, this is a lot of your work's on Instagram right now, right?
Right.
So tell them where
it's Vulnerability Photo Project is where it's residing right now.
Vulnerability _ project.
Yeah, but if you search Vulnerability Photo Project, it would come up. Cool. Yeah, and you would see
You'll
me
search it.
And these amazing, beautiful, courageous people that have taught me so much about myself and about life and about just the way we all should just make space for each other.
So tell me about. I heard this, but I'd love to hear you say it again. But some of these people they either came to the tea room where the work was kind of hanging and also evolving, and people would just reach out to you and say "Wow, this moved me. I need to connect."
So the Random Tea Room is a very, very special place for me. There's an intangible energy there. It's just a good place. It's herbal. It's medicine. It's medicine for the heart and the soul and everything else. It's the people imbibe that. They all know the connection to nature and how nature can sustain us. So already there's healing going on there, and being asked to show my work there was thrilling, and it was a 3-month show, so that was thrilling too. So I was able to mix and match and put new images during the duration of the show. So because of that place, I can cite about 10 different serendipitous moments that were coincidences beyond. There was some divine intervention going on that just blew me away. Just a couple. One of the first instances, I had a job and the job canceled, so I had all my gear on me. I'm I'm just going to go to the tea room, get a cup of tea, and sit down with manager Corinne, who's one of my dearest friends in the entire world. And this guy walks in and sits down next to me, and we start chatting. It turns out I think he was a physics professor at Temple or one of the universities, and I think he had a stroke because he couldn't communicate well. He had a very slow drawl the way he talked. But we had this amazing conversation about life and about the way you step into fear. He was literally like telling me back to me.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
that's crazy.
how does that happen? I wouldn't have been there because I wouldn't have my gear.
Yeah.
So I shot his picture, and I have stunning portraits of this gentleman. His name's Jeffrey, and the quote that I distilled, there was a longer part, but the biggest one that comes out of it's like, why do we climb Mount Everest to take a picture only to go back home to show everybody? Yeah. He's like, I've done this thing, and this is him. This is this.
He climbed Everest.
No, he didn't. I don't think he climbed Everest, but he's using this as a metaphor. He says, I did this thing. I'm going the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And then he just looked at me. He goes, in this slow, I mean, it was a long conversation, this slow draw, and he goes, we limit ourselves because we don't think we're worthy of life summits. And I'm like almost crying here because he's like saying me back to me. He goes, life's about going the distance, and the beauty's on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're absolutely right. You step into things that scare you the most, and when you step through that, you find more confidence, and you find more people who see that and see that confidence and courage. And this is what this is doing, especially at the tea room. So the next serendipitous moment, I'm sitting at home, and I get this email. Hi, my name's Melinda, and I'm from out of town, and I just came to the random tea room. It just happened here, and I saw your work, and it really spoke to me, and I was wondering if I could be part of this, but I'm leaving tomorrow. And I'm like, absolutely, meet me there tomorrow morning at 10, and we'll chat. And yeah, it was, I met her, and there was a lot of stuff that she just needed to sort of like talk about. And I created that space, and there was even a part where she's like, can we do this off the record? I'm like, absolutely, because I'm not about trying to get the image and get a good quote so I can put it up on the internet.
Yeah.
It's just about creating space. Sometimes I'll shoot like 200 photos in a session.
Yeah.
When I did it with another person, one of my dear friends, it was 4 photos just because it was enough. Because the connection and just us having this amazing conversation, talking about traumas and past things that we've dealt with, and that's more important to me.
Yeah.
The image is just a part of it.
Yeah.
But the image creates the courage because in other people because when Melinda came in and saw this, and then other people saw other images and saw what they wrote. I remember the day I hung the show, I'm sitting and I'm talking with my friend Corinne, and we're talking about this one woman that I photographed that suicide was sort of like the underlying theme, and it was really tough for me. I'm saying I'm having some issues. I'm having some struggles talking about suicide. Not that I've been directly influenced by it, but I'm an incredibly, intuitive feeling person. So when, of course, I open myself up because of this photography project, I'm sort of like bringing in this, and it's hard to sit with. Yeah. So she hears me talking about this photo that's hanging on the wall, and this woman comes up almost in tears. It's like, I'm sorry, I just need to sort of like, you mind if I like talk to you about this? Because what that woman wrote really spoke to me and really helped with some closure. And I'm like, oh my God. And I photographed her, and
I think it's interesting because I think we are kind of like holding each other at a distance, you know what I mean? Like, and we've known each other for 20 years, and had some great times, traveled internationally together, and worked long hours together, I don't think we've had any like those crazy road trips together, but we've all been there with kind of strangers,
right? Yeah.
And letting down that guard and saying, hey, especially with people we work with, because there's that whole idea of like, if they really know me, will they hire me again?
Right.
Especially in the freelance world.
Right. Perception is what we do.
Yeah,
for a living.
Yeah. So I'm selling myself. So
right.
I guess the question is like, it's just fascinating to me that to get to a place where you can let those guards down. And I think that like we get to those places where as we get older, we start seeing like, all right, well, I've come this far. I got two 20s. I got the 20 years of my parents, and I was kind of figuring out who I was.
Right.
The last 20 years of me, like, figuring out how I can make money and get more comfortable.
Right.
And now, like, what's the next 20 going to be? Or the next 40 or next 80?
Right,
What is, how am I going to, like, what am I going to leave behind? You know what I mean?
Right.
That to me is, like, really
what have I done with my life?
And what do I want to do with it?
And what do I want to, and how do I want to move forward with that? And
So,
this is what this was.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And
Thank
the story of Melinda, was it Melinda?
Melinda, yeah.
Yeah, I want to come back to that. Let's take a quick break. I want to make it a quick announcement. Thank you so much for watching so far. We're going to have we're halfway through my conversation with Rich Gretzinger and his about being vulnerable, and specifically about his vulnerability photo project on Instagram. You can check it out. It's not anymore. It's down now at the
it came down today.
Oh, wow.
Not the day that it's airing, but the day we're taping this.
Cool.
Yeah.
But
always a bittersweet moment.
Yeah, exactly. But it's amazing work. Check it out on Instagram. It's wonderful, and the quotes are as beautiful and bold as the photography. So check it out. I'm going to encourage you to go to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Funny&Amen. Support Funny&Amen. And what we're doing these podcasts, and we're also producing comedy content that will, cross boundaries, cross borders. So give us a second. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. All right, cool. So we're coming back with Rich Gretzinger. We're going to pour a little more Knob Creek here. We were just a little bit, just a little bit, a little more for me. Okay, perfect. And cheers, man. It's great having you. And
it's great being here, man. Thank you. I appreciate this.
So when you, I'll segue into the one and only formula question I have on this show is, what do you think about Jesus? But I'll segue and just tell my own kind of Melinda story. I attend this church here in Philadelphia called City Life, and big kudos to Brad Leach, the pastor, who's a supporter of Funny&Amen. But what's interesting, we do these like baptisms, and the one thing that I was really connecting with the Melinda story, and even a lot of the stories you're talking about, the spontaneity, the vulnerability, and the spontaneity. Like, I think there's something very magical, divine. Serendipitous is the word you use.
Oh, big time, yeah.
So I just got to tell this story because we at City Life we have these baptisms, these parties every 6 months or so. And we put a pool in the middle of the stage.
Nice,
and,
awesome.
And my wife and I have the best. We rush the stage. We're like, because it's so cool to see these people. Some of them who have planned this, right?
Right.
They don't. It's like it's church. It's a little bit theater, a little bit God.
Absolutely,
And so there's typically 5 or 10 people who have said, yeah, I'm gonna be baptized. Sign me up. When's the next one? But what I love about the way my church does it is we always have random bags of T-shirts and underwear and hair nets and whatever and all the stuff, lotion if you're gonna get ashy, getting in the water. And there's a story of, just so that people can spontaneously, if they want to, if they feel like that moment
if they get
of
moved
vulnerability.
By, or they see the courage of others and they feel like, I can step into this now.
Because if you wait to be vulnerable, then you find another excuse or another distraction.
Right, exactly. Or you use that as an excuse not to go through the pain. Because going through pain is difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking the people who are dealing with that.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to knock that.
No.
Because it's dealing with trauma in your life, dealing with depression, and take it from a person who's done it his entire life. Once you find that outlet, the scary thing to step through your pain.
Yeah.
And when you get to the other side, you feel reborn.
Yeah.
To use a sort of a church kind of, you feel baptized, you feel cleansed,
so
you feel
there's a story right after our church started. We were meeting at 11th and Catherine, this high school, and I think it was like the second time we did one of these like baptism parties, and there's people lined up, and I went over to a friend's house afterwards for lunch, and she's like, "Oh, I love these things. Did you hear about the girl that I was like, what? There's some girl that was in town from London on a business trip, flying back, but her flight wasn't until like 4 p.m. or something. So she's like, oh, what can I do on a Sunday morning? I'm like, oh, there's this church down the street. Let me walk in there.
Right.
And she was just like, wow, now's the time. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to go walk down the aisle and get in this water. Whatever it meant to her to be born again, to have that opportunity of
and
opportunity.
That's just it.
Yeah.
It's whatever it is for you to do. And this is as close as to the religion's speech I'm going to give.
Yeah.
Because I believe everybody is right about religion. Buddha, Hindu, Christian, Catholic, Protestant, everybody's right. Because whatever it is for you, that's what's important. And if there is a God, a benevolence to the universe, why would it just be one thing? He's infinite. He's everywhere, right? So why can't whatever anybody does be right? And that's sort of what I believe. And I believe there's an inherent connection to the natural world around us, that it's inexplicably, if I'm saying that right, thank you, Knob Creek, been proven scientifically.
We work in cinema. We work in images, not words. So.
The natural world shows us that together we can survive. Together we can step through scary things. So I think a lot of the disconnect is that we get so caught up in hiding from the pain that we never actually step into it or step through it. And when people do that, and when these people share themselves with me, and other people see that, just like your baptism story, they feel the courage enough, hey, that person is feeling the exact same way, but they were able to share. I want to share too. And then hopefully that space creates a little bit of courage in them to go to the next step or figure a little bit something out. And like, all right, I've done that scary thing. Let me do another scary thing.
The question is, what do you think about Jesus? What's your personal history or flow through belief, religion?
Sure. I mean, I was, Roman Catholic, Italian, did the confirmation, First Holy Communion, The church was a great community. It was a great place for neighbors to get together, and they had, Was
that here in Philly? Where did you grow up at?
I grew up sort of outside of Philly, in the burbs.
Okay.
I mean, my parents are from my mom's from South Philly. My dad's from Quakertown. We moved when I was young, moved up to North Jersey for a little bit. My dad worked in New York. And then I think when I was 5, first grade, moved into the burbs and stayed there ever since.
Yeah, cool.
So right outside of Philly. So yeah. And it was never like a hard and fast rule we went to church, and like I said, but it was a community. It was like getting together with your neighbors. It wasn't about all these things that you had to do, and you had to memorize prayers, and you had to do your confessions and everything. Sure, that was a little bit of it, but it was more about community, and that's what I really liked about it. And as I got older, I developed a really spiritual side to me, which even though I don't go to church anymore, I still appreciate it. And I still go when I go with my family around the holidays and things like that. But I don't think to me, it's God's everywhere. This divineness is everywhere. It's underneath a stone. It's in this Knob Creek. It's in you. It's in me. One of my clients is a Quaker school. And they believe in this inner light.
I did some of that work with you. That was wonderful stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I was really excited.
William Penn Charter School.
Yeah.
And I really love just their simple belief that we each have this light inside of us. And being a cinematographer, I totally get that metaphor. Yeah. So
how many foot candles does your light burn?
280. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's more about this. Like, God is here. Yeah. It's between us right now. We're having this awesome conversation. It's helping us step into these scary things. And yeah.
Let's get personal. You can. I'm gonna ask questions. You can ask them right back to me. So I want to. What's the scary? We're so much alike. Most cinematographers, directors in our own right. What's scary for you? What's nerve-wracking for you? Is it going after becoming an artist, or is it work related?
I think it's because I'm a really big introvert too. I think it's really having conversations with strangers, like having enough nerve just to strike up a conversation with somebody, and then leading it to a really meaningful, not hey, how's the weather kind of thing. So another serendipitous moment. So I'm at Honey's, which is up the street from the Random Tea Room, so 4th and Brown and Northern Liberties. And I'm just sitting in the corner in the counter where I always do, and there's these two girls, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, where do I know this one girl from? I have no idea where I know her from. So the guy between us leaves, and they're having a conversation. It looked like they were having a tough conversation because the one girl, they were having a conversation. It seemed I didn't want to but I got the courage up, and I'm like,
hey, here's a tissue. Where do I know you're from?
Yeah, well, sort of. It's like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
Do I know you? Where do I know you from? And I noticed this beautiful tattoo that was on her, and I'm like, I know this girl. So I just said it, and she says, "Are you the Vulnerability Project?" I'm like, "Yeah." She says, "Oh, I followed your project this morning."
Nice.
So I was on my phone in the car, the Instagram. Let me see who likes me.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw her from. I'm like, what's the chance of that happening?
That's crazy.
So the girl that she was talking to ended up wanting to be photographed. We ended up hooking up and having this amazing conversation. And
when he says hook up, I mean for a photo session.
Yes, we met and we had a session. And it was beautiful. And had I not, all these little moments have coincided, putting me at Honey's at the exact same time, the same day that this person friended me. They're having this conversation. She wanted to be part of the project, and then her quote goes on and touches somebody else who was part of the project, and then that quote goes on and touches. It's just, of course, there's something interesting going on here. There's some kind of guidance happening. And I lean into that now. Before I'd be like, either throw it off or I wouldn't have said anything. And this project and stepping into this has really taught me about that space. So I bring this sense of myself and the sense of creating space in everything that I do now. My commercial work that I do, the sports work that I do, I just take time and make space for other people, and it's been wonderful. It's been liberating. I feel like I don't have to be the affable, the guy who always has the answer, all these facades, the strong one. I just let through that. I am who I am, and if I screw up, I say I screwed up, and then I don't care what the repercussions are because I am who I am. So
there's definitely man, I think that being vulnerable, I think that over the course of, some people have said that, or we've all had our industry's changing, so we're all kind of figuring out what's the new thing.
Right. And we're getting older, and there's newer, younger, kind of influences. I don't step into that anymore. There's no competition. I just go and I do my stuff, and I'm lucky that I have a stable of clients that appreciate what I do, and even now, more so, they appreciate me more. A lot of my colleagues are telling me, there's a change, and I like that. That's and I've actually photographed some colleagues too, which has been phenomenal too, because these are people that I only saw on a professional level. I never really understood a lot of the things that they're going through, and that has been beautiful. Knowing that we all have sort of the struggle that we're going through makes it all better. Because we all support each other that way.
It's nice to be honest and real, because you have your work, especially they say you actually live with your colleagues more more hours than with your family,
than with your family,
which is tragic, but true. And so if you can't be vulnerable with the people you're with 10, 12 straight hours a day, that's it's
one of the first people to call me was a sports cameraman friend of mine who I would have never thought, last person in the world that would breach the subject, but he calls me up and he goes, "I really appreciate what you do, Rich. You're an artist." And I'm like, "I don't think I am that." And I'm like, you are an artist. You the moment you point the camera at something and focus in on something, you're creating something that affects somebody else. That's art. And he was the first person I shot. And it was amazing getting to connect with someone on that level. And now we have a different way that we deal with each other because we know a little bit more about that softer side. It's just not a colleague that I work with. This is a person that, I really know a little bit intimate details about that are really special. So,
what if you don't mind me asking, what with some of the depression that you were going through, like where's that come from? Where is it? How you said you're doing the therapy? That's
I think it's a disconnect. It's that whole Maya Angelou quote: "We belong everywhere, nowhere." It's like the freedom is knowing that you belong everywhere, but not belonging is okay too. And my whole life I always thought that I had to belong to something and somewhere, and that I always felt left out. I always felt picked on. It's like the normal things that we all go through in life. But I just let that be the narrative of who I was. So I always had to be affable. I always had to be better. I always had to create the story to make me sound like I was the best at what I do.
sounds like
and
Facebook.
That's a lot of work.
Sounds like social media.
Yeah, and that's a lot of work. And the more you step into that, the more anxiety it's driven, and the more storylines that you have to keep up to make sure that you're telling the right people the right story at the right time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a lot of hard work. Wait a minute, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm good at what I do, and I'm an artist.
Yeah.
So take it or leave it. And the more I step into that and let all that other hustle go, it's extraordinary. And then to have people that can accentuate that and tell me that back to my face about their experiences is great. One of the things that I did at the first show, and I do at all my shows now, is there's a mirror in the exhibit. And everyone's like, a mirror? What's that all about? Well, I want people to write notes and leave them on the exhibit. What? This is an art show. You want people to comment on the art and put, no, what if they put bad things? You don't want that. You want to sell your art. I'm like, I don't think it's about selling the art. It's about getting the concept across. And then if there's money, the money's not part of it.
It's not for comments necessarily. It's for people to be vulnerable, right?
It's for anything. So basically, the Post-it notes that you see here were left on all my different exhibits. And basically, I say, are you brave enough to share yourself? And leave a comment, draw a picture, tell me what's vulnerable to you, or just tell me something about yourself. And I get all these different things. I get stuff about vulnerability. I get stuff about traumas that they had to go through. I get, these amazing little notes that are back to me. And I have over 300 of them now.
Wow.
From the 3 different shows.
Wow.
And if you go through the Instagram page, it's the images, but then I have the note as well that kind of travels along to show you that. And this is big as a photographer. It's like, how more vulnerable? Comment on my work and be blisterly honest.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want you to tell me that I'm doing the wrong thing, or that my work sucks, or whatever. I thrive on that, because how can we not accept that we're flawed?
Yeah.
How can we step into our flaws and then do what we do?
Yeah.
And that's sort of what these people taught me, and I'm eternally grateful for these conversations and these people. These people are the art.
Yeah.
I'm only creating the space and maybe a little bit of a conduit for it, but it's these people who are the special things.
Well, I think what's fascinating to me is as cinematographers, as visual storytellers, as filmmakers, we're always capturing audio and video and looking for that sound bite, that moment, there's a tear or a light.
Right. Because we know the tools that we can use to exploit the fact that we have these emotions, and emotions can be triggered by certain imagery.
But I don't know if I knew that the other night when I was at the show, but you taking these quotes and capturing these moments that are like close to when they said that quote is really kind of a it's a high art version of the beautiful soundbite, the beautiful thing.
Yeah,
so
pretty
really,
much.
But it's in a way. I say beautiful soundbite. It seems like it's very shallow, But I don't know if that's good. But tell me about this one. You were telling me somebody contributed their own kind of painter.
Oh my God! So on the closing of the show at Random Tea Room, I gave a brief talk about these serendipitous moments because of the tea room. It was the talk was entitled "The Magic of the Random Tea Room," of course. So I talked about just the people that were affected by the random show. And this gentleman comes up to me, and he says, "I want you to have this." And he hands me this envelope, and I'm like, "What's this?" And I pull it out, and it's a painting. He was like, "I don't think I'm an artist, and I'm not a painter, but I just made this on my iPad, and I wanted to give it to you because your work has really helped me." And he left this amazing quote that talks about, the courage that he's found by stepping into his past traumas of his life and the pain of his life. And I'm like holding back the tears. If not, I think I was crying. You were probably there watching me. And I'm like, this is what it's all about. It's finding these moments where we can be with a stranger. And Brene Brown says this, and I don't know if it's her quote or she's quoting somebody else, but we need to cry with strangers more. Holding hands with strangers is a prerequisite. Because we've all been through shit. We all have struggles. Once we can just say, all right, I'm done with acting the strong person. I want to connect with somebody. Him doing that to me was beyond amazing. So
I want to hold your hand right now, man.
Yeah,
I want to
you get it. See, you get it.
We're getting all teary-eyed together.
Yeah, exactly. But you get it, man.
Yeah, man.
And that's what it's about. It's about breaking through all these facades that we portray ourselves as and just getting real. And then him stepping through and especially doing something that beautiful is just amazing.
Could be the stories. It could be a little bit of this knob creak in the back of my throat. What's next? What do you got? Do you have another idea for a show? We're going to continue the vulnerability project.
So yeah, I don't know that it's ever going to end. I'm going to continue to step in. I have a number of people that are waiting in the wings, ready. I'm just trying to figure out timing and scheduling. But the whole point is I'm going to always create space for people, whether there's a photographer, whether there's a photo or not. There were two women who were therapists who overheard a discussion that I was having at the Random Tea Room about my therapeutic relationship and things that were going on with my therapy. And they came to me, "Do you mind if we talk to you about this? Because we're therapists and we're going through a similar thing." And it was amazing because they brought some closure to some difficult things that I was going through. And they're like, "I think we want to be part of this."
So they gave you therapy at the Random Tea Room?
No, they were just...
Their closure was yours or theirs?
Closure was a little bit of mine.
Okay.
Because they had a similar situation that they were going through, and they were able to give me a perspective from a therapist's perspective rather than a patient perspective. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And they're like, "We think we want to be part of this." And we met up, and the one woman came from DC, and we were supposed to do the photo, but we just ended up talking.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need to take a photo.
Yeah.
I mean, this is more special, just having these connections and conversations and being just not part of, I got to take a photo, I got to get you on Instagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about the space, and that's what I lean into.
Do you think that, here I am making this podcast, season 1, I'm not sure what order we'll air in, maybe, but you're a fifth person sitting here with me, and there's this podcast response, I think, to the Instagrams, the tweets. I think that, I think there's people that are looking for deeper connections and deeper meaning, or, I don't know, what do you think?
I think so.
Or am I just saying that to justify?
No, I think it's nice to see people who are real in the popular culture, people who are trying to step in and just being faulty, because then the other people see that and it hopefully gives them a little courage. But it's always a tough thing in the media world because you don't know what kind of PR is behind that or what kind of slant is. That's why me being a cinematographer, me being in that world and knowing the techniques that we can use to manipulate people, I wanted to do that, but with no manipulation and no exploitation. I just wanted to use my talent to do something real and hopefully capture that. And like I said before, I didn't know it would work at all. I didn't know the images would, and it's in my heart, it's been a resounding yes, it's worked. And then the people that I've talked to and the people that I've learned from and the notes that have been left all agree. So cool, who knows? I think the next inception, I really see this big, billboard big. And you love to see
Oh,
Melinda
my word,
on a billboard
dude,
as you're
right.
driving down 95, or,
I mean, there's some-
or
there's some-
Sam,
there's some- there's some- and,
or
you know-
Sandra, and then have a post-it note.
Yeah. I
Just
think that's do you have any kind of funding? Are you
No.
gathering funding?
well, that's the next step.
Yeah.
So because the holiday,
'Cause, I mean,
Thanksgiving holidays coming up,
a billboard
Oh, yeah.
like be vulnerable would be just
right?
that's a beautiful message,
Right.
to
So,
all of us.
who knows? But it's now that the show's down.
Yeah.
It's breathing time because the show's not up.
Yeah.
So I'm not like
Yeah.
getting. I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna figure out what the next step is, and I'm gonna look for a funding. I think a website might be a nice
cool.
a nice addition to this. I published one book that's been well received. I've been really happy about that. That was the first show that I did at Third Street Gallery.
Yeah.
I published a book.
That's the one I saw. That it was
Yep.
a copy at the
tea room. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and that was a logical step for me. I'm not
Yeah.
making any money. I'm selling them, but I'm not hardly
Yeah,
making
yeah.
any money. Just because it's a self-published
Just because you give
book.
money
Yeah.
away doesn't mean
Yeah.
we're getting rich.
Right.
Yeah.
But this isn't a get rich quick thing.
No,
I
no.
don't want to. Selling it's not the point. The point is the connection in the
Yeah.
space, and to create a dialogue and let people see the work and hopefully do something courageous on their own. Whether it's directly with me
Yeah.
or whether it's they saw it, it touched them, and they went
Cool.
home and then they said something to somebody.
Cool, man. Well, let's wrap it up, dude. Richard Gretzinger. Kevin
So when
is so
can I
good.
have you sit down with a session?
I'd love to. Whenever, man.
Let's do it.
There's enough light? We go outside tonight, but no. But no, I'm totally open, man. I think it's really.
I think it'd be great.
I think it's really beautiful the work you're doing, and I thought it was a really good connection to where I'm at and with why I'm starting Funny&Amen, and just to kind of like and trying to cross borders and be vulnerable.
Right. And I'm thankful for this project because it kind of like brought us back together a little bit too.
Yeah,
So
we got to collaborate again. We could do like Mutant Man 2 now, or Skirts 3. I don't know. All right, cool. I'm Kevin Hackenberg. My guest this week has been Richard Gretzinger.
Thank you for having me.
Check out his work at the Vulnerability Photo Project on Instagram and everywhere that he has it by the time you watch this. Please go to patreon.com/funny&amen and support us. And thanks again for watching. This is Christians that drink whiskey and their open-minded friends.
Cheers.
Cheers.